Community Short.
Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm your host, Katie Roche. Today's show is just one part in a series of conversations with community members concerning the November 6th vote on the 21 ordinance. The debate over the age that bar patrons may be allowed in Iowa City bars is not a new issue to Iowa City, but what is significant this time around is that voters will decide whether the 21 ordinance will be passed into law. Meaning that if the 21 ordinance is passed into effect, patrons of bars in Iowa City will have to be 21 years old in order to be in a bar after 10 p.m. or face a $250 ticket. Right now, Iowa City has a 19 ordinance in effect stating that 19 and 20-year-olds must vacate bars by 10 p.m. or face that $250 ticket. In this Community Voice series, we will hear from Community Voice viewers like you who are both opposed to and in favor of adopting this mandate. Stay tuned to City Channel 4 to learn more about this important issue, and remember to vote on November 6th. So I'm wondering what you would say to the community in order to encourage them to vote for the 21 ordinance.
I would say is the repeat of the data and the facts that we've delivered and produced over the last 10 years. And the whole purpose of the Universe Community Coalition was to educate the community, to encourage people and promote action on the part of the citizenry. And my office produces statistics on the uses of alcohol by University of Iowa students. And the fact of the matter is, we consistently have over 1,500 underage citations for alcohol each year. We have over 70 public intoxication arrests on campus, where someone has been taken to the hospital or to jail when they could not either stand up or take care of themselves. These are facts, okay? So what we're saying is that we know from the research that one of the ways to eliminate, if not eliminate, to minimize abusive drinking is through limiting access and availability. The limitation of access and the limitation of availability will lower abusive drinking rates. One of the major methods for that is to apply the legal age for the entry.
It's very important for voters right now to really look at and understand both sides of the issue. There is one side and there's a totally separate side. And I think what we have tried to do is set up obviously ways that you can look at not voting for the 21. So in my perspective on that end, I just do not believe that our community is at all ready for this type of an ordinance. I think we have no idea what could happen with that, and we haven't even gotten into the economics of it. You know, what will happen to these large buildings downtown? There's probably 6 or 8 very large buildings sitting downtown right now. There's a couple buildings that are sitting waiting to be leased. As in many communities, not a great time in downtown Iowa City for retail, and that's a problem. And what will happen with that whole aspect of it is to be seen also. But I think that our community has done a very good job in controlling problems that may develop with students in the past. I think we've done a very good job of doing that ourselves. And I just don't see outside forces coming in and putting a 21 into effect right now.
What would you say to convince voters to vote for the 21 ordinance on November 6th?
For me, the biggest and most effective argument is simply looking at what happens to young people's lives and what has happened to the culture of Iowa City, the downtown culture of Iowa City. It's an economic issue for some, that's true. It's a freedom of choice issue for some, that's true. But the thing that you can't ignore is the fact that there are literally hundreds of young people, even thousands downtown at one time, who are spending 2 and 3 and 4 nights a week in binge drinking, which will not only injure their health but makes their education virtually impossible. And those lives, some of them are damaged forever, either by medical problems or by the development of a habit of alcoholism. Those consequences, to me, override any economic concern. I think not to mention the fact that we've created an alcohol culture for our own high school youth, and high school students will go down and are involved in drinking at the bars. So that's my primary concern. We have to, as a community, I think, step up to the plate and take responsibility to do the things we need to do to protect our young people.
You and I passed the ordinance, and it created such trouble for their city that they repealed the ordinance. So a lot of these places that have experimented with the 21 ordinance have found out that it's really not been working well for them.
I believe the community, the students, the city should all rally here to vote down the 21 ordinance on November 6th for student health and student safety. If you look truly into this issue and you look at other institutions such as Michigan State, such as Iowa State even, that passed the 21 ordinance several years ago, you'll notice that we're jeopardizing the community, the well-being of the community, and the well-being of the students and this university if we're not looking deeper into this issue.
What would you say to voters to convince them to vote for the 21 ordinance?
This community has had a long-standing issue with excessive and underage alcohol consumption. The university and the community have implemented a lot of strategies to try to decrease that concern or that issue. It has changed some things, but it has not decreased the binge drinking rate for our community. Since all those things that have been implemented have not reached the desired goal, I believe this is another step that is an appropriate step to take. And it's not the only step. There are still many things that need to be done. But this is an appropriate step, and it's well supported by research, national level research.
It's not just about drinking, it's about being with people. It's about growing up. It's about, learning responsibility. It's about meeting people. It's about getting involved with society and with other people. And, to preserve that, to preserve some of their rights, they need to vote against this. It's going to get to the point where, they simply won't have the same kind of experience. They won't have the same kind of growth. I mean, if you can't go out with your fellow musicians or your fellow performers after your rehearsal and talk about things, I mean, that's changing the experience of that.
So what would you say to a voter to convince them to vote in favor of the 21 ordinance?
I look out into a room of University of Iowa students, and I can see out of the hundreds that I see there, I see 30 or 40 whose lives will be saved because they'll have learned that they don't have to organize their life around alcohol when they come to the University of Iowa.
Contrary to what the 21 ordinance advocates say, they say that there's all this research that shows that this is bound to reduce student drinking. I looked through all that, and all I found was problems caused in other towns that enacted a similar ordinance. Basically, kicked like 15,000 young people out of the downtown area and disperse them in the neighborhoods. There's going to be no way this is going to be controlled. It's people drink more in house party. You go to come and go. You're paying a lot less per beer, and you're spending all your money in one shot.
Apply the rules that exist right now, the laws that exist right now, and if a club is notoriously horrible about it, close them down. But don't change these rules of the culture, because that in of itself will not solve the problem. It will just move somewhere else. And in the meantime, the rest of us are getting punished for it.
The segment that you just watched is just one in a series of conversations with community members concerning the November 6th vote on the 21 ordinance. Stay tuned to City Channel 4 for other perspectives and more information on this issue from Community Voice viewers like you.
Iowa City is the city where nobody sleeps. Black and gold and we roll on our enemies. If you living in the city, you know what I mean. You live in Chi-Town, no man, I see. Iowa City is the city where nobody sleeps. Black and gold and we roll on our enemies. If you living in the city, you know what I mean. You live in Madison, no man, I see.
Community.